Have you ever, pushed for a big change at work, maybe something like implementing lean,
Hmm.
and you've seen these brilliant ideas, things designed to really boost value, cut waste, and they just sort of fizzle out, don't deliver what they promise?
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly common
Hmm.
and really frustrating. And that's pretty much why we do the deep dive. We
Right.
try to slice through all that noise, pull out the key insights, the surprising bits, so you can get properly informed, efficiently.
And today we're diving deep into operational excellence, specifically why lean methods, which have these powerful tools, right, why they so often just fail to stick.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we're leaning heavily on OpEx Develop a Lean Culture by Vishnu Rayapeddi. It gives a really critical look at the real roadblocks in organizational change. It's not just about the tools.
Okay, so our mission for you today, we want to unpack the real reasons lean efforts stumble and maybe reveal that often missed secret ingredient for making performance improvements last.
Exactly. You should walk away with real clarity and some solid actionable ideas.
All right, let's jump in. So, when you start digging into the numbers on lean success, or rather failure, it's actually, well, it's pretty shocking.
It really is.
Clifford Ransom, for instance, he puts the lean failure rate at, get this, 98%. 98.
Wow. Yeah, that's almost everything. It's staggering.
And even anecdotal estimates, like from an LEI forum, suggested 75% failure. Still huge.
Hmm. And there was a University of Kentucky estimate, too, saying 70% or even more companies fail when they're just using the mainstream practices for lean.
70%. And on top of that, 75% of companies in one survey said they'd made no progress or maybe just some progress towards becoming world class.
So clearly something is going very wrong very often.
Okay, so before we get into the why, maybe we should quickly define what we mean by lean, just for context.
Good idea.
Yeah.
So at its heart, lean is really about systematically getting rid of waste. That's the core.
Right. Less waste, more value.
Exactly. It's a whole methodology
Hmm.
to minimize the resources you need, time, materials, effort, everything. It pulls together ideas like just in time.
Getting things exactly when you need them.
Yep. And Kaizen, which is all about continuous small improvements, plus Kanban, the visual system for workflow, and total quality management.
Okay.
The goal is ambitious, really, aiming for zero paper, zero inventory, zero downtime, zero defects, zero delays. Basically, perfect flow.
Sounds amazing on paper, doesn't it? Which makes the failure rates even more confusing.
That's the paradox right there.
Oh.
Because the basic assumptions, they seem solid. Like lean tools do work. They're proven methods.
We know they work. And the other assumption, people will change when they see a need. If the business is struggling, people step up, usually.
Usually, yeah. These are things most managers would agree on. But still, over half of these big change efforts fail. It just doesn't add up if you only look at the tools and the people's willingness.
So if it's not the tools themselves and it's not that people are just inherently resistant to any change, what is it then? What's the big blocker?
And this is where the source material really shifts the focus. It argues pretty strongly that the failure isn't down to the tools or a fundamental lack of buy-in from individuals. The real issue is deeper, much deeper.
Okay, so you're saying it's the environment, the context everything happens in.
Precisely. Rayapeddi points the finger squarely at organizational culture.
Culture. Okay, that word gets thrown around a lot. How are we defining it here?
Well, the standard dictionary definition works pretty well. The set of shared attitudes, values, goals, and practices that characterizes an institution or organization.
It's the way things are done around here.
Right. The unwritten rules, the shared beliefs.
Exactly. And what Rayapeddi stresses is that you don't just need a lean program. Programs have start dates and, crucially, end dates.
Ah,
What you need is a true culture of continuous improvement, something that's more like a philosophy, love of wisdom, something that lasts, that becomes part of the company's DNA. It's not temporary. Like true love never ends, as the book puts it. A bit poetic, but it makes the point. It needs to be fundamental, enduring. So if culture is that critical, that foundational, where does it actually come from? How does a company's culture get set in the first place?
Well, the book is pretty direct about this.
Right.
Ultimately, it comes from the leaders.
Leaders.
Yeah.
Okay. Seems obvious, but maybe too simple. Like the
Yeah.
dictionary just says leadership is the office or position of a leader or the act of leading.
Yeah.
That doesn't tell us much about shaping culture.
Exactly. That definition is pretty useless for this context. We need to unpack the qualities of leaders who can actually drive cultural change. It's a specific skill set.
So what does that look like?
Well, first off, they need to be genuinely passionate about the work, the company, the people. You can't fake that.
No.
They treat people honorably, respectfully. They bring real enthusiasm and energy that's
Yes,
infectious.
right? Yeah, it can be.
And they're strategic. They develop a clear strategy, refine it, but crucially, they communicate it constantly. Everyone needs to know the why.
Okay, so passion, respect, energy, strategy, communication. What else?
They have to be learners themselves, always learning, always teaching others. They motivate, they actively encourage feedback, even the tough feedback.
And they help people find the answers rather than just giving orders, that inventing the right answer idea.
Yes, empowering people. But then there's the flip side, accountability. This is huge for culture.
Ah, accountability, often the missing piece.
Totally. Leaders need to be accountable and hold others accountable. They give praise, yes, but they also coach and take corrective action when things go wrong. Fair, but tough.
And consistency, doing what you say you'll do every time. That builds trust, right?
Absolutely crucial. Without trust, culture change is basically impossible. They also need financial discipline, managing by facts, being a bit entrepreneurial, but that consistent, values-driven behavior is the core.
The book also mentions Lee Cockrell from Disney World Resorts and his great leader strategies. I thought the idea of break the mold, designing the organization for success, even if it means changing the structure, was really interesting.
It is powerful. He really stressed getting the right people with the right knowledge into the right roles. That sounds basic, but it's often not done well.
And then making big leaps in customer service, having solid, structured processes. It's about setting the stage for success.
Right. And leaders need to be like internal explorers. They need to actively know what's really going on, observe their teams, react, recognize, coach, counsel.
Not just rely on reports.
Exactly. Get out there, use the best knowledge available, partner effectively, show passionate commitment, and, actually understand the business fundamentals.
Okay, so that paints a picture of the kind of leadership needed. Now, here's something the book points out that I found quite striking. Most companies have a mission statement, right?
Yeah.
A vision statement.
Usually.
A list of values.
Got those too.
But a formal written culture statement, how many have that?
That's the thing. Often it's just not there. It's assumed, maybe, but not explicitly defined and communicated.
Yeah. Which seems like a massive gap if culture is so important. The book gives an example of what could be in one. It covers a lot of ground.
It does. Things like mutual respect, dignity, the golden rule for everyone, customers, suppliers, the community, embracing diversity.
Making and keeping commitments, huge. Integrity, no lying, no bending the truth. Team needs over individual desires, but also life balance.
Striving for excellence, being customer-focused, delivering real value. It's pretty comprehensive.
And then being entrepreneurial, always learning, being good stewards of everything, assets, people, reputation. And this part, coming to work with hearts, minds, and spirits engaged.
And, crucially, having fun winning. Imagine working in a place that actually lived by that statement.
It would be incredible. But
Right.
Getting an entire organization to shift its culture to that sounds monumentally difficult.
Oh, it is. Rayapeddi doesn't mince words. Changing organizational culture is the toughest task you will ever take on. He compares it to pushing a rock uphill.
You can picture that. And why is it so hard? Why does culture resist change so much?
Well, cultures don't just appear randomly, right? They usually form for a reason, often reflecting the founder's style or the dominant management approach over years.
And they become self-reinforcing.
Exactly. Managers tend to hire people who are like them, who fit the existing culture. So new hires often just make the existing culture stronger, even if it's not ideal.
And people just get comfortable, even with a dysfunctional culture. It's what they know.
Precisely. That's why, unfortunately, it often takes a significant event, something really seismic, to even get people's attention and make them open to change.
Like nearly going bankrupt or losing a massive customer or hemorrhaging money. Something that shakes everyone.
Yeah, something that makes the status quo clearly unsustainable.
Okay, so given that challenge, what are the hard truths, the key facts we need to accept about trying to change culture?
First, it takes time.
Yeah.
Real time. Years, not weeks or months. Don't expect quick wins.
And it won't be smooth sailing. There will be setbacks, bumps in the road.
Definitely. Also, it must be driven from the very top. Leadership commitment isn't optional. It's essential.
It's driven by communication, needs a lot of training, and it's a continuous process, not a one-off project.
And critically, it has to be organization-wide. You can't silo culture change in one department.
Right, which brings us back to lean, because the book makes it clear Lean tools, as good as they are, they're just an enabler, not the answer for the cultural shift itself.
That's such a vital distinction. You can implement 5S or value stream mapping, but if the underlying systems and culture don't change, it won't stick.
So things like how people get promoted, how they're paid, how performance is managed, who gets hired, the leadership style, how information flows, all of that needs to change too.
All of it. Everything needs to align with the new cultural direction. Otherwise, you're sending mixed messages and the old ways will just reassert themselves.
Okay, so culture is the linchpin, leaders drive it, it's incredibly hard. So how do leaders actually make this happen? What's the mechanism?
The book boils it down to one powerful word: engagement.
Employee engagement.
Deep employee engagement. Patrick Kulesa over at ISR defines it really well. The extent to which employees are committed, believe in the values of the company, feel pride in working for their employer, and are motivated to go the extra mile.
It's more than just satisfaction then, it's a real connection.
Absolutely. And the flip side, disengagement. The cost of it is just startling.
Tell me about it. The numbers are bad, right?
They're pretty grim.
Hmm.
Bain & Company found the average company loses 20 to 50% of its employees every year.
Wow, that's huge turnover.
It is. And Columbia University found replacing just one lost employee costs about 150% of their annual salary. Think about that cost multiplied across that turnover rate.
Ouch. That adds up incredibly fast.
And then there's a productivity hit. A Gallup study back in 2008 looked at New Zealand. Only 23% of workers were actually engaged.
Only 23%. What about the rest?
61% were not engaged, basically, just showing up and doing the minimum. And 15% were actively disengaged.
Actively disengaged. What does that mean?
That means they're unhappy, and they're actively undermining the company, spreading negativity. Toxic.
Yeah, that sounds damaging. And the cost?
Well, for NZ, that study estimated $5.6 billion a year in lost productivity. In the U.S., estimates suggest disengagement wastes something like 10% of total payroll dollars. It's a massive silent drain.
So, conversely, engaged employees. They're the powerhouse.
Totally. They're not just satisfied, they're emotionally invested. They become your best advocates. They stick with you through tough times. And yes, bottom line, they make you more money.
The link is direct.
Okay, so how do you get that engagement? How do you foster that commitment?
The source suggests two key things. To boost engagement, jobs need to provide work. Meaningfulness, people need to feel their work matters. Variety helps too.
Keeps things interesting.
Right. And autonomy, giving people control over their work. Plus, coworker support. A good team environment. When jobs have these things, performance improves, and people even start broadening their roles, taking initiative.
Okay, that's engagement. What about commitment? Making people want to stay. For commitment, companies need to provide real opportunities for personal development, helping people grow their knowledge, their skills, their experience, their expertise.
Investing in them.
Exactly.
Right.
That builds self-esteem, boosts engagement further, improves productivity, and makes people committed for the long haul. It's a win-win.
So we need engagement driven by meaningful work and development. But how do you make sure this happens systematically across the whole organization so it actually moves the needle on performance and customer satisfaction?
Right. How do you orchestrate all of this? The primary driver, according to Rayapeddi, is achieving organizational alignment.
Alignment, getting everything pointing in the same direction.
Precisely. Making sure all the pieces fit together and support each other.
And how does that look practically? What are the basics of alignment?
It starts in the top with a clear vision, mission, values, and that defined culture we talked about. That's the foundation.
Okay.
Then comes the strategic plan. Where are we going? That plan gets flowed down through policy deployment, breaking it into actionable goals for every level.
Making it real for everyone.
Exactly. Then you execute using your lean tools. And you track progress and communicate using a balanced scorecard, looking at more than just the financials.
So it's a whole system, from high-level vision right down to daily execution and measurement.
It is. It's a complete ecosystem designed for coordinated action.
And for a lean transition specifically, what else is needed for that alignment?
A few key things. A balanced compensation plan is important. Something like gain sharing, tied to valid measures, can really help embed lean thinking.
So people feel they share in the success.
Right. The company vision needs to be more than a poster. It has to be a roadmap, cascading down so every single person sees how their individual responsibilities connect to the big picture. Action plans, goals, timelines, all linked up.
And that culture piece, again, open, honest communication. Leadership needs to be part of the team, not separate from it.
Critical. True collaboration. And don't forget other essential training.
Like what?
Well, creativity training, you need innovation. Leadership training, it's vital things like how to do performance reviews well, win-win negotiating, active listening, real empowerment.
Skills for the new culture.
Exactly.
Uh,
And solid problem-solving training for everyone. These are foundational skills for continuous improvement.
because if you don't focus on engagement and alignment, what happens? What's the alternative?
Well, it's pretty stark, really. You get higher turnover, all that knowledge walking out the door, performance dips, at least short-term. You waste training money on people who leave.
And the people who stay.
Their morale drops. They get overburdened, maybe cynical. That's why the book hammers home that listening to employees isn't a nice-to-have. It's continuous. It's essential for survival.
Okay, so this really brings us full circle back to the Lean Tools value stream mapping, Kaizen 5S TPM.
Right. They fit into this bigger picture. They are, as the book says, the tools of execution, the enablers.
They're necessary, but not sufficient on their own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The analogy used is perfect. It's easy to have the hammer, strike the nail, wrench turn the nut, screwdriver turn the screw.
But it takes time, planning, communication, and leadership to build a house. I like that. The tools are useless without the architect, the plan, and the skilled builders working together.
Perfectly put. The tools only work effectively within the right structure, the right culture, with the right leadership and engagement.
So wrapping this up, what's the core message for you listening to this deep dive?
I think it's that achieving real operational excellence, making lean truly work and stick, it's not just about implementing some tools or processes.
No, it's much bigger than that.
It's fundamentally about a cultural revolution inside the organization. And that revolution has to be deliberately built, piece by piece, through strong, consistent leadership and genuine, deep employee engagement.
And when you get that culture right, the benefits aren't just isolated improvements. It's a whole cascade of positive outcomes, isn't it?
Absolutely. Better morale, lower costs, a more flexible and capable workforce, better problem solving, people staying longer, more revenue, happier customers.
And ultimately, improved profit, better cash flow, higher earnings. It transforms the entire business.
It really does. So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. The real lean challenge, perhaps, isn't just cutting waste from your processes, but cutting the incredible waste of human potential that happens when we fail to engage people's hearts, minds, and spirits. So thinking about your own situation, what's the one cultural shift, however small, that could start unlocking the most significant gains?